Coming up, a look at COVID-19's impact on the mental health of local frontline workers. And the Joplin City Council votes whether to give final approval for a scooter program. Also, Joplin area hospitals report little change in their numbers of COVID patients as the Delta variant spreads.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5 a.m. I'm Zach Dodge. We had a really great Monday as far as the weather is concerned. Now I'm wondering, what do we have on tap for Tuesday?
About the same for today. That also includes that haze that was hanging out there. So we'll talk about the air quality. No air quality advisories for us. They do, however, have them up in the Kansas City area. And there is a little swatch of southeast Kansas that does find itself in the poor level as far as the air quality goes. And once again, that is a result of the West Coast wildfires. 61 is where we hang right now, over 7th and Rangeline. So it's just a couple degrees cooler than what we had yesterday. Chanute's already up to 66 right now, 61 in Carthage, though Miami in at a comfortable 66 as well. Skywatch storm tracker remains clear. They picked up a little bit of rain right there in central Missouri, and once again down to the south, there it is, but really high pressure hanging right on us, and so we are going to have clear skies even though it is going to be hazy. I know that sounds almost counterintuitive, but the cool temperatures, look at the jet stream coming down out of Canada and right through us, and so that actually grabs some of their cooler air and means we're going to be comfortable in the mid 80s once again. Hard to beat for the beginning of August. Future track, once again, there you go, same time frame. Say about mid-afternoon, got a couple raindrops pop up, and cloud cover begins to develop there a little bit overnight. We are warming up though. We're headed into the mid to high 80s there for Thursday, if not 90s by the time we get to Friday. Slight increase in some afternoon rains, and then we're setting up for a hot weekend and a hot beginning to next week. All right. See any raindrops yesterday?
I did not, no.
At about 5, hit the windshield.
Okay.
And then it was done.
Yeah, nice. But thank you very much, Michael. Catch you again in a couple of minutes.
I'll be here.
All right. After battling the pandemic for well over a year, some healthcare workers continue to feel burnt out from long hours and adapting to new medical situations. As cases rise in the area, some healthcare workers at Mercy Hospital in Joplin say they haven't been able to get much rest or recovery due to stress of taking care of COVID-19 patients along with their other patients.
The emotional stressor that it's had on people. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of healthcare out there that is basically going to have PTSD from living through this and the toll that they've taken on.
Mercy says they've brought in nurses from outside of Joplin to give their staff time to rest. Joplin area hospitals report little change in their numbers of COVID-19 patients as they battle the continuing surge amid the spread of the Delta variant. Joplin's Mercy Hospital says it currently has 69 COVID patients. That's down from 74 a week ago, but the hospital says the percentage on ventilators is now higher. And Freeman hospitals in Joplin and Neosho now report a total of 60 COVID patients. That's 3 more than Friday. 11 of those patients are on ventilators. As remain high, it's important to continue taking steps to protect yourself and others from this virus. The Newton County Health Department Director says you should remain vigilant about washing your hands, social distancing, and wearing masks when recommended. He also says cleaning surfaces regularly can help stop the spread.
And certainly those disinfectants are effective, and so making sure that all of our surfaces are clean, plenty of sanitizer, hand sanitizer, soap at the hand sink in those establishments, say food service establishments and others, restrooms.
So far, around 43% of people in Newton County have gotten at least 1 dose of a COVID vaccine. The Joplin City Council last night approved on first reading an agreement with Bird Scooters. It now goes to a second reading. If approved, Bird would bring 150 scooters to Joplin and pay the city $2,500 plus 15 cents per ride. This is video of the scooters in use in Lansing, Michigan. To rent a scooter, you download the Bird app and pay for your ride, which unlocks the scooter. City Council plans to discuss parking concerns at the next council meeting. And don't forget, for many of you, today is Election Day. It's your chance to, in many cases, decide how your city or county spends your tax dollars. Voters in Jasper County, Purcell, Carthage, Joplin, Oronogo, and Avila, Missouri, as well as Cherokee County, Kansas, will all have items on their ballots. There are no offices to fill. The elections are just over issues, mostly tax questions. Polling places open in Missouri at 6 a.m. and stay open until 7 p.m. In Kansas, polls are open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. We'll have the latest numbers on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com. Voters in Purcell will decide whether to sell their wastewater utility to Missouri American Water. If approved, it would net the city $200,000, and city officials say further investment from Missouri American Water.
Pledged to invest about $2.4 million, I believe, over the next 5 years in Purcell in the systems. So that gives the citizens comfort, I think, to know that we're going to be there, we're going to make the investments, and we're going to make sure the systems are running and meeting regulation.
Again, voters will decide on the issue today. The Ozarks Food Harvest says it's distributing at a record-breaking rate as thousands of families face hunger this year. The food program says it distributed 23 million meals from June 2020 to July 2021. Those 23 million meals equal out to about $37 million worth of food. The food bank attributes their record-breaking distribution to their long-term focus on helping communities in their 28-county service area recover from the effects of COVID-19. It's 5:07.
We'll have that haze sticking around not only for today, but into tonight as well. Temperatures into the mid-80s. Raindrops are going to be far and few between in a 7-day forecast that eventually is going to feed us some heat. We got about 3 more days there below normal, though. Friday's when it begins to kick in, and over the weekend, in fact, into next week, return of the mid-90s.
That's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, the demand for vaccines.
COVID-19 infections are on the rise, but now 70% of U.S. adults are at least partially vaccinated. I'm Bradley Blackburn with why health officials say it's important to reach the rest.
Plus, a Frontenac High School wrestler holds a wrestling camp to give back to the community. And a California law could make bacon hard to find. How restaurants and consumers could face a potential pork shortage. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
A Frontenac High School wrestler is giving back to the community and raising money at the same time this week. Dawson Lapping is his name. He's leading a 3-day wrestling clinic that started last night in Frontenac. Lapping's a 3-time state qualifier for the Raiders wrestling program, and last season finished as the state runner-up in his weight class. This camp is for all ages, girls and boys, $25 per wrestler, and the money from the camp helps Lapping offset the cost of going to the National Wrestling Tournament in Fargo, North Dakota.
It's really good for the sport. Giving back to the sports gave a lot to me, especially Frontenac kids, try to get them into it and, bring them up through here. So hopefully show them that it's fun. Not a lot of people are invested in wrestling or whatever. Not a big thing to a lot of people, but hopefully, get them interested and keep going.
Tonight, former Frontenac undefeated state champion Riley McDaniel will be a guest coach at the camp. It continues at 6 p.m. tonight and Wednesday night. Pittsburgh American Legion baseball team still alive in the postseason as Post 64 won a state championship over the weekend and now moves on to play in the Mid-South Regional Tournament. That's in Nebraska beginning on Wednesday. Pittsburgh went 4-1 in the state tourney last week, punching their ticket to regionals and got to do it on their home field.
100% it made it more special because we didn't want anybody to come out here and get a win on our field. We wanted to almost protect home field in a way, and we did that, and it felt great. We say it all the time. Mental mistakes happen, physical mistakes happen. That's okay, but you have to play with 100% effort, and that's all we can ask for is perfect effort. And that's what I thought we got from this tournament from those guys.
Pittsburgh's first game at regionals takes place Wednesday morning in Hastings, Nebraska. Going to take on Oak Grove, Missouri. Kansas City Chiefs just 12 days away from the first preseason game of the year. Chiefs will be on the road against the 49ers on August 14th, and the first of just 3 tune-up games. Meanwhile, teams still getting in work at training camp in St. Joe, as today will be the team's first practice in full pads. Fun and important day for everyone, but especially the new-look KC offensive line.
These guys communicate at all levels. On top of that, you want to see them line up and play hard together. You want to see them strain to finish. But it's one thing about an offensive line group, they all have to work on gelling and making sure that they're on the same page. I will say this, they got a heck of an O-line coach that's done a heck of a job with them. So far, so good. When we come out here tomorrow with the pads on, now we continue to roll.
Finally, a tough one yesterday for the U.S. women's national soccer team as the U.S. fell to Canada 1-0 in the Olympic semifinals, snapping a 36-game winning streak the U.S. had against Canada. Dates all the way back to 2001. The women are not done yet, though, as the U.S. faces Australia on Thursday for the Olympic bronze medal. Still to come on the KOAM Morning News, a diplomatic standoff continues to unfold at the Olympic Games.
Simone Biles prepares for a comeback while an Olympic sprinter seeks asylum. I'm Benjamin Hall in London with all the details coming up.
And a check on our 7-day forecast when the KOAM Morning News returns.
Well,
rolling up on 517. Good time to roll a little weather on the 7s. Sunrise will be here at 6:25 over Joplin on this Tuesday morning. Here's a live look over 7th and Rangeline, where we find ourselves sitting in the low 60s right now, 62 degrees with even the high humidity. Doesn't really make a difference. It's a nice mild morning out just about everywhere. 66 is still the clubhouse leader there in Chanute, Miami, and Grove. 63 in Lamar and Monette, and 64 right now in Pittsburgh. Now, no worries for us on the Skywatch Storm Tracker, but here's the one thing I want to point out. As we've been talking about, that haze has been hanging over us here for the past couple of days. Up in Kansas City, where it's indicated in gray, that's an air quality warning. It's not odd to have that in a major metropolitan area by any means. But on the air quality index reading, I took a circle and kind of made it through southeast Kansas and northeast Oklahoma, because we are currently sitting right there in the poor category as far as our air quality goes. Combination of ozone and what they call the old particulate matter. And this is a result of the smoke and ash that's coming out of the West Coast wildfires. Now, this is going to get just a little bit better as the day goes on, but we're going to continue to monitor this. Extremely important for those of you that know or have asthma, COPD, anything of that nature. Sometimes the best thing to do when getting that poor category is just kind of stay indoors as much as possible. You can tell right there the jet stream feeding right through the 4 states. That's the result of the cooler temperature, so that's kind of nice. But once again, it's the smoke that's just making its way across the Midwest right now and kind of lingering for a couple of days. Severe thunderstorm risk map kind of runs the Rockies, if you will, and then down to the Gulf Coast up to the Mid-Atlantic. But second day in a row where even the marginal category remains very, very limited. As far as our weather trend for today, going to make it up into about the mid-80s, and then a 7-day forecast that gradually steps up on the thermometer. We'll go mid-80s to high 80s on Wednesday and Thursday. Friday and Saturday, that tune changes a little bit, because that's when the heat's going to set back in, take us back into the 90s. Time now to turn our attention to the KOAM News Now Facebook page and our morning Insta poll, as meat prices have been higher during the pandemic. And now California consumers are facing higher prices for pork because of a measure that millions voted for. Nichelle Medina has the story.
The original Saugus Cafe in Santa Clarita, California has been around since 1886, and during that time, pork products have been a staple.
What's your most popular breakfast item?
Basically anything with bacon, because we are a breakfast spot, so everyone just wants bacon.
But bacon and other pork items could be in short supply in a few months. In 2018, California voters approved an animal welfare proposition that requires more space for breeding pigs and egg-laying chickens.
The new rules will start being enforced next year. Egg producers are working to comply, but it doesn't appear most pork farms will reach the standard.
It would be an unprofitable situation for us.
Dwight Mogler runs Pig Hill Farms in Iowa with his family and says the rules would cost them around $3 million in new construction and lost revenue. He says only a small fraction of farms currently can comply with the California standard.
I am very fearful that there would be an absence of supply to meet the entire market demand.
A shortage in California would likely lead to higher prices at stores and restaurants for customers like Andrew Trock.
People don't want to pay over $10 a pound for some bacon.
Saugus Cafe manager Yesenia Mercado already has a lot on her plate, including a worker shortage and cost increases because of the pandemic.
It is difficult because we want to keep our prices affordable, but they're making it kind of impossible.
She says the shortage of a major staple would hurt the bottom line, forcing her to raise prices or eat the losses. Nichelle Medina, CBS News, Santa Clarita, California.
The National Pork Producers Council has asked for the new requirements to be delayed. Our question to you this morning: should farms be required to provide more space for livestock? You can let us know by going to KOAMnewsnow.com/vote or via our Facebook page. We'll be right back with Health Watch next.
Topping Health Watch this morning, the coronavirus's summer surge appears to have prompted an increase in the U.S. vaccination rate. Yet more people are falling ill with COVID-19 than during last summer's peak. Bradley Blackburn reports from New York.
COVID-19 vaccinations are on the rise, but more people are getting infected as well.
The numbers that we're seeing are unbelievable.
As the U.S. reached President Biden's goal to get 70% of the country's adults at least partially vaccinated, the focus is now on the millions who've had no shots.
100% of the people in my ICU in the intensive care unit are unvaccinated.
White House coronavirus coordinator Jeff Zients said the more contagious Delta variant has renewed the demand for vaccines.
In the states with the highest case rates, daily vaccination rates have more than doubled.
Zients endorsed the idea of schools and businesses making vaccines mandatory for students and staff.
It makes a lot of sense given that we're going to beat this pandemic by getting more and more people vaccinated.
Some health experts are looking beyond the current surge.
There will probably be other variants that come down the pike. And we want to be prepared this time. We want to have a fully vaccinated community.
The CDC says the current vaccines appear to offer good protection against all coronavirus strains. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News.
Nearly 128,000 new COVID-19 cases were reported in the U.S. on Monday, along with 451 deaths. The American Academy of Pediatrics is recommending all children who test positive for COVID-19 have a follow-up visit with their doctor after the quarantine period. Pediatricians can evaluate any long-term symptoms and discuss vaccination with parents. The Academy is also recommending all children be monitored for the emotional and behavioral effects of the pandemic at every doctor visit. A simple text reminder is helping people schedule and show up for a COVID shot. Researchers in the journal Nature found a basic text message boosted appointment rates at UCLA Health, and the rates were even higher when the message included ownership language like "claim your dose." Researchers in Hong Kong say increased screen time and less time outdoors may explain an uptick in short-sightedness or myopia in children. A study followed a group of kids between January and August of 2020 and found higher incidences of myopia when compared to children in a pre-pandemic group. Fruits and vegetables may help keep your mind sharp as you age. A professor of medicine at Harvard University found foods high in flavonoids like apples, peppers, and strawberries can enhance your brain functions. Flavonoids are compounds filled with antioxidants. The researchers found over the course of a 25-year time span, those who ate as little as 200 of an ounce of flavonoids every day had a 20% reduced risk of cognitive decline compared to those who consumed almost no flavonoids on a daily basis. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
It's going to have sunshine, but it's going to be filtered a little bit by the haze from the western wildfires. Temperatures around 84 degrees today. So similar in nature to what we had yesterday, minus the fact that overnight went ahead and kept the haze in there, as it will continue to linger. Any raindrops that we do see going to be afternoon, last about 5 minutes. They'll be in, be out, a little bit of cloud cover begins to build, and then a little bit of heat begins to build for Wednesday and Thursday. Still not too bad. Then here come the 90s on Friday into next week.
Coming up, a look at the COVID-19's impact on the mental health of local frontline workers. And Joplin City Council votes whether to give final approval for a scooter program to come to town. Also, Joplin area hospitals report little change in their number of COVID patients as the Delta variant spreads.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5:30. I'm Zach Dodge. We're having a very nice and cool day so far today. Let's go ahead and go to Michael Hayslip now with our look at the forecast.
It's been a welcome break, Zach, because even though we've had back-to-back days from Sunday and Monday with a high around 84 degrees, our rolling 10-day average still is about 92. So yeah, we were due for a nice little break. There we are over 7th and Rangeline. 62 degrees is where we stand here at 5:31 on a Tuesday morning. 66 in Chanute, 63 Monette and Neosho, and 66 as well in Miami. Have an air quality warning that's hanging up to the north of us in Kansas City, but our forecast really for southeast Kansas and northeast Oklahoma is our poor air quality is where we stand right now. Didn't think the weather trend was going to kick in right there. I thought Mother Nature just said, nah, here's your weather trend, Hayslip. It's a banner and a black screen. Our weather trend has hazy skies and temperatures around 84 degrees. So once again, temperatures aren't going to be the issue. Just making sure that if you do have any breathing problems or any of the kiddos or family members do, maybe you want to try to keep them inside a little bit thanks to those western fires right there. Yeah. Warming up here as we get into the middle of the week. We'll get up into the mid 80s. That's still 5-6 degrees below normal. However, we will be above normal by the time we get to Saturday and Sunday.
Yep, that we will. And makes me want to thank Canada for sending some of that cool air down our direction for at least a few days.
That was a well-played reference by you. Thank Canada. America's hat.
Right.
Too bad Aubie's not here. We would just cajole him about it.
Yeah, there you go. Right, too bad. But thank you, Michael. Mm-hmm. After battling the pandemic for well over a year, some healthcare workers continue to feel burnt out from long hours and adapting to new medical situations. As cases rise in the area, some healthcare workers at Mercy Hospital in Joplin say they haven't been able to get much rest or recovery due to stress of taking care of COVID-19 patients along with their other patients.
I think the bigger challenge is not only just the tools, it's the emotional stressor that it's had on people. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of healthcare out there that is basically going to have PTSD from living through this and the toll that they've taken on.
Mercy says they've brought in nurses from outside of Joplin to give their staff time to rest. Joplin area hospitals also report little change in their number of COVID patients as they battle the continuing surge amid the spread of the Delta variant. Joplin's Mercy Hospital says it currently has 69 COVID patients. That's down from 74 a week ago, but the hospital says the percentage on ventilators is now higher. And Freeman Hospitals in Joplin and Neosho now report a total of 60 COVID patients. That's 3 more than on Friday. 11 of them are on ventilators. Protesters demand freedom of choice in Rogers, Arkansas. The protests were in response to Mercy Hospital's vaccination requirement for its employees, holding signs that said, "My body, my choice," and "If there is a risk, there must be choice." The protesters worked to put pressure on the hospital to reverse course. Others say they've already left the hospital.
In my notice and said, you don't care about the employees. We all have beliefs, and it's not right for an employer to force their beliefs on the employee.
Mercy officials said the decision to require inoculations for employees was one made out of a concern for the safety of not just staff, but patients as well. The deadline for hospital employees to receive their vaccines is September 30th. The Oklahoma Republican Party is facing fierce criticism for a Facebook post likening vaccine mandates to the persecution of Jewish people in Nazi Germany. The post on the party's official Facebook page urged people to call the lieutenant governor and ask him to call a special session to prohibit employers from imposing vaccine mandates on their employees. It featured a picture of a yellow Star of David with the word unvaccinated on it. The director of the Jewish Federation of Greater Oklahoma City called the post highly inappropriate and urged party officials to apologize. In a joint statement, Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt, Lieutenant Governor Matt Pinnell, Senator Jim Inhofe, Senator James Lankford, and Congressman Markwayne Mullin said, "It is irresponsible and wrong to compare an effective vaccine developed by President Trump's Operation Warp Speed to the horrors of the Holocaust. People should have the liberty to choose if they take the vaccine, but we should never compare the unvaccinated to the victims of the Holocaust." The Joplin City Council last night approved on first reading an agreement with Bird Scooters. It now goes to a second reading. If approved, Bird would bring 150 scooters to Joplin and pay the city $2,500 plus 15 cents per ride. This is video of the scooters in use in Lansing, Michigan. To rent a scooter, you download the Bird app and pay for your ride, which unlocks the scooter. City Council plans to discuss parking concerns at the next City Council meeting. That's a look at our top news stories. Coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News, a beached killer whale gets showered with more than affection from some good Samaritans that worked to keep the whale alive. Plus, a Belarusian Olympic sprinter has received a humanitarian visa from Poland, and Simone Biles will compete again. We'll have the latest, but first it's 5:37.
Temperatures are going to be mild today, mid-80s, similar in nature to what we had yesterday with a little northeasterly breeze. One thing to point out though, overnight, the haze that we had yesterday, it's lingering, and it's going to linger into tonight as well. Any raindrops that we do see are going to be rather inconsequential, a little quick hitter there for the afternoon, more so throughout southwest Missouri. Farther west and north you go, the drier your chances are being all day long. A little cloud cover begins to build there on Wednesday, mild on Wednesday and Thursday as well. But then the heat going to kick in on Friday, and once it does, look at that wave that begins on Saturday. We got 96s running for Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. We'll be right back with World Watch after this.
Experience what?
Topping World Watch, firefighters are battling a bushfire outside the capital city of Santa Cruz in Bolivia. The massive fire spread from a nearby meadow to the country's largest airport, the Vera Vera International Airport. 25 flights were canceled due to the inferno. According to local media reports, Bolivia Public Works Minister Edgar Montano says he believes it was an arson attack. Local authorities are investigating the event. A massive drug bust in Colombia. Authorities seized raw materials, over 3,600 pounds of narcotics and solid supplies, and over 2,200 gallons of liquids capable of creating over 3 million doses of cocaine. It's estimated the loss will equal around $39 million in illegal operations. The complex is said to belong to the organized armed group Franco Benavides Mobile Column. They also owned a submarine capable of transporting over 2 tons of drugs. It was confiscated as well during the bust. Humanitarian rescue ships pulling dozens of migrants from overcrowded boats on the Mediterranean Sea. Footage shared from German charity Sea-Watch shows images of its crew members distributing life jackets to help migrants off wooden boats. Sea-Watch saved 12 migrants on Sunday and another 26 on Monday. Nearly 450 migrants were rescued from the combined efforts of all of the NGO ships over the weekend. August is typically one of the busiest periods for migrant crossing. The voyage of trekking the Mediterranean to reach European Union countries is dangerous as overcrowded boats often get into dangerous situations at sea. A Belarusian Olympic sprinter is seeking asylum after accusing team officials of forcing her to leave Tokyo. Meanwhile, Team USA sees one of its top gymnasts return this week. Benjamin Hall has more.
Simone Biles will have one more chance to win gold at the Tokyo Olympics. The gymnast will compete in the balance beam final on Tuesday, 1 week after withdrawing from the team competition to focus on her mental health. Her comeback will be a big boost to Team USA as she won bronze in the event at the Rio Olympics.
She's kind of like a mentor and like a bigger sister, so she really helps me out when I'm struggling.
Meanwhile, a diplomatic standoff continues to unfold at the Olympic Games. Polish officials say they've granted a humanitarian visa to a sprinter from Belarus, 24-year-old Kristina Timonutskaya. She's defected after accusing team officials of forcing her to fly home from Tokyo and said she feared for her safety.
She's at the Polish embassy, safe and in a quite good condition, although the whole situation, of course, had a quite negative footprint on her.
The standoff began after the Olympian criticised team management for putting her on a relay with short notice. Team representatives then reportedly rushed her off to the airport to board a flight to Istanbul. But instead, she sought protection from Japanese police. Belarus sports officials insist she was sent home due to her, quote, emotional and psychological state.
We have known her for a long time. There was something strange in her behavior. She was getting away sometimes. Sometimes she didn't want to talk.
The sprinter plans to leave for Poland in the coming days, where officials say she's welcome to continue her sport.
That's a look at some of your biggest headlines from around the world. Now let's toss it over to Michael for our Something to Talk About.
Thank you, Zach. This morning on the KOAM News Now Facebook page and our morning Instapoll, meat prices have been higher during the pandemic, and now California consumers are facing higher prices for pork because of a measure that millions voted for. In 2018, California voters approved an animal welfare proposition that requires more space for breeding pigs and for chickens that lay eggs. It's a new standard that will be enforced starting in 2022. Egg producers are working to comply, but it does not appear most pork farms will reach the standard. A shortage in California would likely lead to higher prices at stores and restaurants. Our question to you, should farms be required to provide more space for livestock? Right now, 84% of you coming out and saying no, should not be required to provide more space. Only 16% saying yes. Make your voice heard by going to KOAMNewsNow.com/vote. You can also get there through the KOAM News Now Facebook page. We'll be back with the news you need to know before you head out the door right after this.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. Mask and vaccination mandates are going into effect in several municipalities as the nation works to tamp down this latest wave of coronavirus. That's been driven by the fierce Delta variant. Indoor mandates take effect today in California Bay Area communities and on Wednesday in the state of Louisiana. After battling the pandemic for well over a year, some healthcare workers continue to feel burnt out from long hours and adapting to new medical situations. As cases rise in the area, some healthcare workers at Mercy Hospital in Joplin say they haven't been able to get much rest or recovery due to stresses of taking care of COVID-19 patients along with their other patients. Mercy also says they've brought in nurses from outside of Joplin to give their staff time to rest. The Joplin City Council last night approved on first reading an agreement with Bird Scooters. It now goes to a second reading. If approved, Bird would bring 150 scooters to Joplin and pay the city $2,500 plus 15 cents per ride. This is video that you're looking at of scooters in use in Lansing, Michigan. To rent a scooter, you download the Bird app, pay for your ride, and that unlocks the scooter. City Council plans to discuss parking concerns at the next council meeting. Las Vegas is building a permanent memorial to honor the 58 people who died and more than 850 injured when a gunman opened fire into a crowded country music festival in 2017. MGM Resorts International is donating part of the property where the nation's deadliest mass shooting took place. The public is invited to submit its ideas for the design. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
Zachariah, here we go. A whole bunch of mid-60s right now. 62 in Joplin, 65 in Miami and Parsons, and we got 63 in Monette and Nevada. Afternoon planner going to lift us up into the mid-80s. Very similar in nature to what we had yesterday, and that also includes the hazy skies from the western wildfires. Little northern breeze at 5 to 10 miles per hour, and then overnight that haze is going to linger around, so we're going to wake up on Wednesday with it as well. As we pushed into the afternoon, any raindrops you do see mainly over southwest Missouri and won't last but 5-10 minutes before they dissolve, and then we get ready for an impending heat wave that'll be on us by the time we hit the weekend. Friday is going to roll us 92, Saturday, Sunday, Monday all the way up to 96, and of course you can find the latest on the Skywatch weather app.
An orca is swimming free thanks to some good Samaritans in Alaska. They kept the beached animal wet until officials could arrive. And now Gene Moose reports video of the rescue is floating around social media.
Come on, that's a good.
A whale?
Come on, I believe in you, Willie. You can do it. You can be free. Come on.
We'd have a movie, but this is a news story about a 13-year-old killer whale that got stuck on rocks and stranded as the tide went out. It happened on the aptly named Prince of Wales Island in Alaska. A couple of vessels reported the stranding to the Coast Guard, which notified National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration officials. And some good Samaritans formed a bucket brigade to keep the whale wet. A stranded whale can get attacked by birds or bears. Its own weight, once on land, can be a threat.
The animal is on its abdomen, right? And so you're putting pressure on the lungs.
The whale kept vocalizing.
Oh, okay.
As the Good Samaritans set up a seawater pump.
We did it.
To shower the whale, believed to be a juvenile female. One woman injured her foot while helping. Wildlife officials arrived and took over. After 6 hours or more stuck on land, the tide came in, the whale was refloated.
The animal was really vocalizing, and it's how they communicate and maybe calling out to their pod.
She meandered around, then headed out to sea. Okay. So there was no Free Willy moment. But she did get showered with tender, loving care.
Good job to those volunteers, but now that she had video of Free Willy in there, that reminds me of how weird that movie really truly is.
Yeah, does Free Willy stand up? Does it withstand the test of time, movie-wise?
Oh, if I remember, I haven't seen it in several years, but...
It sounds terrible. I don't know if I've ever seen it all the way through.
Yeah. Seems like it would be terrifying to a little kid.
Yeah, I don't know if it exactly held my interest for that long. You can always jump on the KOAM News Now Facebook page, and you can check out Michael Hayslip, KOAM, as well. Now, I want to give you fair warning, waiting on the new one to post that I just put on there. So the one that you just saw behind me there, that's from Saturday night when we had all the thunderstorm activity. Dylan, you're going to have to take that full, or else I'm just going to have to turn my camera to the back, or turn my back to the camera. So you can jump on Michael Hayslip, KOAM, and like I said, that one is from Saturday night, but we got a new one just about to pop on there, Glory of Live Television. And then you can flip on over to KOAM News Now and take part in our Something to Talk About in our morning Insta poll. So this morning, it's a little different. It's California consumers. They passed this measure a couple years ago that mandates that pork and chickens that lay eggs, and those pigs right there, Well, it's essentially an animal protection act. And so the pigs and the chickens that lay eggs, they got to have additional mandated space due to this law that California passed. Goes into effect in 2022, and right now pork producers are saying we can't meet that mandate. The price of pork's going to go up. So our specific question is, should farms be required to provide more space for livestock? And from start to finish, this thing's just been overwhelmingly no. Right now, 85% of you say no, that should not be the case. And once again, you can take part either by going to the KOAM News Now Facebook page, or you can go directly to the poll by going to koamnewsnow.com/vote. We'll be back. Let's update air quality readings right after this. All right, so the air quality warning that we have in effect, that's for the Kansas City area that you see in gray. But what we can do here is shift, and according to Air Now, which is it's an interactive map of air quality. Here's where we stand on this Tuesday morning. Circle, whatever shape you want to call it, is considered poor air quality. And what we mean by that is it's members of sensitive groups may experience health effects. The general public is less likely to be affected. Now that is straight off the AQI website right there. So it is something that we're going to pay attention to, because this is a result of those hazy skies that we're experiencing from the West Coast fires. They also recommend that individuals consider limiting strenuous outdoor physical activity to reduce those adverse health effects from the air quality. We'll be right back after this.
Coming up, a look at COVID-19's impact on the mental health of local frontline workers. And the Joplin City Council votes whether to give final approval for a scooter program to come to town. Also, Joplin area hospitals report little change in their numbers of COVID patients as the Delta variant spreads.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 6 a.m. I'm Zach Dodge, and we're going to go straight to Michael Hayslip in the Weather Center.
Yeah, I'm going to buy you some time here,
Cool.
so you can run out, go check on this dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you take care. You go take care of him. That's right.
Oh, he's moving again. He's moving again. There he goes.
You do quick work, Zach Dodge.
Got it.
You are good. I didn't even see you get out the carport.
Just that fast.
That's the great thing about working with Zach Dodge, folks. You never know what's going to happen on his watch. So that was outside of Television City, where we had that. That's the extent of our early morning action. There we are over 7th and Rangeline. Going to have gorgeous Tuesday start. Nice and mild too. Not bad time to be outside right now. 65 degrees. Let's roll that in both Anderson, throw Miami in there, throw Chanute in there as well. 62 in Carthage and Independence, and Fort Scott as well. So everybody, just temperatures right next to each other. Clear on the Skywatch Storm Tracker. Remember, we've been talking about air quality. That's because of the haze as a result from the West Coast fires. And then you can tell those arrows from the mid-level jet stream coming straight down through us. We'll kind of track them back a little bit. And yeah, a little mild upper plains Canadian air is what keeps us in the mid-80s for our Tuesday. Sunny skies with the haze, and any rain that we do see afternoon. Quick little pop, more so for southwest Missouri than southeast Kansas or northeast Oklahoma. Cloud cover begins to build on Wednesday, as does a little bit of heat. Now Wednesday, Thursday, certainly not too bad, 86. But then Friday, we're kicking it into gear. That's pretty seasonable for beginning of August. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, that's pretty hot for any time of year.
Right, for sure. That haze, looking at one of the monitors with the Skycam, and as the sun kind of starts to come up, and this is going to be very cheesy, I apologize, but it makes the sky look kind of purple.
It does.
So there's kind of a purpley haze in there.
You don't have to apologize for it because it actually worked out well. And yeah, I guess the one nice thing is it does provide for some amazing colors during the early morning hours.
Right, for sure. But thank you much, Michael. After battling the pandemic for well over a year, some healthcare workers continue to feel burnt out from long hours and adapting to new medical situations. As cases rise in the area, some healthcare workers at Mercy Hospital in Joplin say they haven't been able to get much rest or recovery due to stress of taking care of COVID-19 patients along with their other patients.
I think the bigger challenge is not only just the tools, it's the emotional stressor that it's had on people. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of healthcare out there that is basically going to have PTSD from living through this and the toll that they've taken on.
Mercy says they've brought in nurses from outside of Joplin to give their staff time to rest. Joplin area hospitals also report little change in their number of COVID-19 patients as they battle the continuing surge among the spread of the Delta variant. Joplin's Mercy Hospital says it currently has 69 COVID patients. That's down from 74 a week ago, but the hospital says the percentage on ventilators is now higher. And Freeman hospitals in Joplin and Neosho now report a total of 60 COVID patients. That's 3 more than on Friday. 11 of those patients are on ventilators. As COVID cases remain high, it's important to continue taking steps to protect yourself and others from the virus. The Newton County Health Department director says you should remain vigilant about washing your hands, social distancing, and wearing masks when recommended. He also says cleaning surfaces regularly can help stop the spread.
And certainly those disinfectants are effective, and so making sure that all of our surfaces are clean, plenty of sanitizer, hand sanitizer, soap at the hand sink in those establishments, say food service establishments and others, restrooms.
So far, around 43% of people in Newton County have gotten at least 1 dose of a COVID vaccine. The Compassus Hospice Program in Northeast Oklahoma is looking for volunteers to help comfort and support patients and their families. The program is looking for 2 types of volunteers. The first is non-medical volunteers who can donate their time to provide companionship, run errands, and prepare meals for patients. The second is veterans who can connect with the program's veteran patients.
From all walks of life. These are just people that want to give back to their community, or they've had a loved one that's been on hospice and seen what that need was. And so they come into that with that kind of mindset, and just, you know, they may, again, make phone calls, they may do grocery deliveries.
Volunteers will be able to decide when to help out to best fit their schedule. The Joplin City Council last night approved on first reading an agreement with Bird Scooters. And now goes to a second reading, and if approved, Bird would bring 150 scooters to Joplin and pay the city $2,500 plus 15 cents per ride. The video you're looking at right now is of users in Lansing, Michigan. To rent a scooter, you download the Bird app and pay for your ride, which unlocks the scooter. City Council plans to discuss parking concerns at the next council meeting. Don't forget, for many of you, today is Election Day. It's your chance to, in many cases, decide how your city or county spends your tax dollars. Voters in Jasper County, Purcell, Carthage, Joplin, Oronogo, and Avila, Missouri, as well as Cherokee County, Kansas, will have their items on their ballots. There are no offices to fill. The elections are just over issues, mostly tax questions. Polling places open in Missouri at 6 a.m. and stay open until 7 p.m. In Kansas, polls are open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. We'll have the latest numbers on our website as they are available, KOAMnewsnow.com. As we just said, voters in Purcell, Missouri will decide whether to sell their wastewater utility to Missouri American Water. If approved, it would net the city $200,000, and city officials say further investment from Missouri American Water.
Pledged to invest about $2.4 million, I believe, over the next 5 years in Purcell in the systems. So that gives the citizens comfort, I think, to know that we're going to be there, we're going to make the investments, and we're going to make sure the systems are running and meeting regulation.
Again, voters will decide on the issue today. It's 6:07.
Temperatures today going to be in the mid-80s. It'll be very similar to what we had yesterday as far as the way it'll feel during the afternoon, and a little northeasterly breeze overnight. Remember, hazy conditions. It's the result of those wildfires. That reminding us, though, that it does kind of give us some pretty colors early in the morning from our tower cams. Mid-80s for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then the heat is going to get us for the weekend.
That's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, pandemic-era air travel record.
Americans may be ready to fly, but some U.S. airlines are having trouble keeping up with demand. I'm Mark Meredith in Washington. I'll explain coming up.
Plus, with the start of school just around the corner, the Education Department releases a new roadmap for returning to in-person learning and the growing debate on school safety. And Beyoncé's Formation named Best Music Video of All Time by Rolling Stone. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. Middle-earth fans marked the day and a serious diagnosis for comedian Kathy Griffin.
Nichelle Medina with those stories and more. She has today's Eye on Entertainment.
Comedian Kathy Griffin revealed on social media she has lung cancer despite not smoking. Griffin told fans she is undergoing surgery to remove half of her left lung. The 60-year-old has had a rough few years, facing backlash over a photo shoot targeting former President Trump, battling a prescription pain pill addiction, and losing both her sister and mother. Amazon revealed its first look at the new Lord of the Rings prequel series. The image is from the first episode, premiering September 2nd on Prime Video. The yet-to-be-titled series takes place thousands of years before The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. And advance tickets are on sale for the new adventure comedy, Free Guy. The film stars Ryan Reynolds as a bank teller turned hero of his own real-world video game. You can catch the action in theaters beginning August 13th. That's your Eye on Entertainment. Nichelle Medina, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Actors are suing production houses over alleged earnings.
Gerard Butler filed a lawsuit Friday alleging a production company owes him about $10 million for his work in Olympus Has Fallen.
According to the lawsuit, he accuses New Image, Millennium Media, and Padre Nuestro Production of underestimating their own receipts and profits by over $11 million.
So Olympus Has Fallen, you may remember, debuted in 2013, grossed more than $170 million globally. Movie comes soon after the one and only Scarlett Johansson filed a lawsuit against Disney, claiming the company breached its contract with the actress by releasing the movie on Disney Plus, as well as theaters. That would, of course, be Black Widow.
Right. Rolling Stone has named Beyoncé's Formation the best music video of all time.
Grammy-winning music video highlights significant moments in Black American history, including references to Hurricane Katrina, Creole culture, and police brutality.
Beyoncé's daughter, Blue Ivy, also makes an appearance in the video.
Rolling Stone says Formation secured Beyoncé's spot as one of the most important artists of all time. The video released in 2016 off the Lemonade album. That's it for our Eye on Entertainment. Anything else you want to throw at me, Dodge?
I'm trying to think. The Black Widow Scarlett Johansson lawsuit against Disney is an interesting one. If you have some time, you should read into the legalities of it and kind of how all that stuff might end up shaping out.
And if you have have you seen Black Widow? Widow?
Yes, I have.
Does she run a lot in it?
There's a lot of running in it.
A lot of running. It's a Scarlett Johansson Marvel movie if there's a lot of running. I'm going to watch it. Scarlett Johansson will come and sue me. All right, we'll be right back after this.
In Consumer Watch this morning, more and more Americans are taking to the sky. But as the nation's airports are bustling, many airlines are having a difficult time managing the influx. Mark Meredith reports on the headaches happening on the tarmac.
It's up, and away. The TSA reporting a new pandemic record for air travel with more than 2.2 million passengers flying on Sunday. It's the largest number of travelers screened since February 2020. While more people are flying, airlines are facing some turbulence on the ground. Staffing shortages tied to the pandemic are forcing some airlines to cancel hundreds of flights, leaving stranded passengers to ask, what happened to the friendly skies?
This was the worst experience ever.
Low-cost carrier Spirit says both bad weather and, quote, operational problems caused them to cancel roughly 300 flights. And as the departure board lit up red, so did the countless passengers forced to wait hours in long lines just to get home.
This line, I started back there last night at midnight,
I got to the front at 9 a.m. this morning.
So you were on the line for 9 hours?
9 hours. I'm about to cry.
With vaccinations on the rise, international travel is also ramping up. Fully vaccinated Americans can now fly to the United Kingdom without being required to quarantine upon arrival.
We're showing that the vaccine is our passport to freedom, that we can start to open up to other countries.
While travel demand is booming, officials are eager to stop the virus from spreading any further. New York now plans to mandate all airport and public transit workers get vaccinated or face weekly testing.
Actress Reese Witherspoon is selling her production company to a group of investors backed by the Blackstone Group. Terms of the deal were not disclosed, but the Wall Street Journal says it estimates Hello Sunshine's value to be around $900 million. The company produces the hit HBO show Big Little Lies. Witherspoon will remain with the company as a member of its board of directors. Google is banning what are commonly referred to as sugar daddy apps from its app store. Google says the change will take effect on September 1st. In a notice to developers, the company said, quote, "We're updating the inappropriate content policy to institute new restrictions on sexual content, specifically prohibiting compensated sexual relationships." Google's Play Store already banned what is considered to be services that may be interpreted as providing sexual acts in exchange for compensation. The action brings Google in line with its competitor Apple, which prohibits what it considers to be hookup apps. Sail away aboard the houseboat of your favorite cereal box captain, Captain Crunch. That's awesome. The Quaker Oats cereal wants some breakfast time superfans to have an opportunity to have $2,000 and a 2-night stay on a Cap'n Crunch houseboat. This quirky, fun boat is laid out in Cap'n Crunch themed colors with pillows that look like crunch berries, a sea dog first mate, and a bright kitchen stocked with Cap'n Crunch cereal and more. If you're 25 and older, upload a photo of yourself to cap'nsquarters.com. Which also explains why you're an ultimate Cap'n Crunch superfan by August 1st. Boat stays are between August 9th and 17th. I think we've already kind of missed that deadline.
5 years old.
I don't know. That's a weird one,
That's
too.
like arbitrary.
You're staying in a cereal-themed houseboat. Little kids would love that. I mean,
I know,
I'm
that's
2
what,
and I'm 27.
Like, I understand.
but that's
I
beside the
understand, like, not letting the little kids upload photos. I get
Right,
that part
I get
of
that.
it. It's 25 just seemed like such an arbitrary age.
Just throw a number out there.
Right.
Yeah.
Just like they put a bunch of numbers in a hat and somebody's like,
Right.
hey, 25 it is.
For sure.
I could call bingo like with that. 025, 025.
We're kind of going off the rails here. You want to talk about the forecast?
No, I'd rather talk about calling bingo, but that's fine. I can do what you want to do. You're running this ship, not me. Live look outside of 7th and Range Line, where Dodge is trying to be the taskmaster and make me talk about it. 61 degrees in Joplin. Yeah, it's 63 in Pittsburgh. Let's go 64 in Miami and 65 in Monette. Oh, Cassville, now in the 66 club. So take off the old sweeping radar there, and we're clear but hazy. And that's because of the West Coast wildfires, resulting in an air quality warning for Kansas City. For us, it's we've got what's considered poor air quality right now through southeast Kansas and northeast Oklahoma. General public probably not going to notice it. However, things like COPD, asthma, best thing to do is any strenuous activity, let's try to hold off a little bit. And if you do hold off, then unfortunately we're going to have to battle the heat by the time we get to the weekend. Health Watch is next.
Topping Health Watch this morning, for many students, a new school year is just weeks away. And many parents are wondering what a return to the classroom will look like. On Monday, the Department of Education released its new roadmap for returning to in-person learning. Madeline Rivera is in Washington with the latest on the guidelines and why some are pushing back against them.
The debate over what the new school year should look like is gaining steam. A new set of guidelines from the Department of Education likely to fuel a growing divide among parents and educators nationwide. The possibility of mask mandates in some school districts taking center stage.
If you re-implement mask mandates, we will not be sending our students to school.
In its Return to School roadmap, the Department of Education is backing the CDC's recommendation for mask wearing, the agency advising that all teachers and students wear masks indoors, regardless of vaccination status.
Hopefully, as we have vaccinations for kids and less disease in the community, we'll be able to scale back on the mask wearing.
Several states like Texas, Iowa, and South Carolina, though, have laws banning schools from requiring masks.
This ought to be up to the parents whether the children wear a mask when they go to school. That's a parent decision.
And there's the issue of vaccines. The Education Department is urging parents to get students 12 and older vaccinated before school begins. Some, though, questioning the legalities of potential vaccine mandates in education.
I do believe it's outside of what the school's authority is to do.
Others argue that schools and parents must do what they can to make sure children are safe.
Listen to the facts. Protect our children. How on earth is it even a difficult decision?
The Department of Education also encouraging schools to use COVID-19 relief funds to improve ventilation, buy more PPE, and hire more employees like nurses to help keep schools healthy and safe. A new ear-worn device being used at the Tokyo Olympics could help keep a dangerous health condition nipped in the bud. Tech and e-commerce company Alibaba Group has come up with an earbud device that's part of a cloud-based system monitoring the physical condition of staff working at the Olympics venues. The device, when paired with a smartphone app, can give warnings of problems such as heat stroke symptoms. Heart rate and body temperatures are measured, sent to the cloud, and then circulated by an algorithm to determine heat stroke risk. This year's Tokyo Games are in a hot and humid climate of 90s temperatures. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
After a mild start, our temperatures this afternoon will end up into the mid-80s. It'll be very similar in nature to what we experienced on Monday, but once again, remember, that also means that haze out there from the smoke and the ash that can cause some breathing problems for the susceptible groups. General public mainly not going to be affected by it. Any rain we do see, more so southwestern Missouri, little quick hitters, not going to amount to anything, certainly nothing severe. And then overnight, back down into the 60s. We may even see some 50s there by the time it's all said and done, but the majority of the action stays way down to the south of us. Get ready for some heat by the end of the week. 90s going to reemerge, and once we hit that, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday going to be about like the end of July was. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News right after this.
Coming up, a look at COVID's impact on the mental health of local frontline workers. And the Joplin City Council votes whether to give final approval for a scooter program to come to town. Also, Joplin area hospitals report little change in their numbers of COVID patients as the Delta variant spreads.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 6:30. I'm Zach Dodge, and kind of like the picture behind me, sun's starting to come up a little bit, and it should bring with it a pretty nice day, right, Michael?
Have you noticed the picture behind? Have you paid close attention to the picture behind you?
I haven't studied it like you have, I think.
I don't know how well it comes across on there. There are marvelously large bugs.
Yeah?
Coming out of that field.
Okay, I couldn't quite tell exactly what that was, if it was just from like the lens flare or what.
I was like, my goodness, those
are big bugs.
I know. Zach, we've been talking about that haze as we take the tower cam from 7th and Range Line. You can, it's pointing off to the north-northeast, but you can tell it lingering right there among the tree line. And that's something that we're going to concentrate on here for the next couple of days. 61 degrees, very comfortable when you do step outside. 63 in Lamar and 62 in Carthage, 65. Chanute, everybody right there. Miami in at 64. We did have a chance to see a sprinkle or two, kind of moving in and out of there to central Missouri. But like I said, if you see anything, it is just going to be a sprinkle. I've got Zach transfixed on those bugs now in that picture. No laughing matter that we have poor air quality for that circle that I made right there through southeast Kansas and northeast Oklahoma. A result of the West Coast wildfires. Just outdoor strenuous activity, especially if you have COPD, asthma, you or somebody you know and love. Make sure that they kind of take it easy, maybe even put it off for a day. Jet stream rolling right through us, giving us some cooler Canadian air. And no worries on the severe thunderstorm risk map. Relatively quiet, really, for just about all the United States. 7-day forecast, mid-80s for the next 3 days. Then we get a heat wave, going to kick in on Friday, carry us into the 90s there Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Didn't mean to distract you.
Oh, you're all good.
Okay.
I mean, that's just great anyway.
Thank goodness that thing's not in 3D. Oh, and then our
right.
director Dylan, he's like, I better change that for everybody at home. He's like, look at those big bugs.
Those big bugs. Thanks, Michael. After battling the pandemic for well over a year, some healthcare workers continue to feel burnt out from long hours and adapting to new medical situations. As cases rise in the area, some healthcare workers at Mercy Hospital on Joplin say they haven't been able to get much rest or recovery due to stresses of taking care of COVID-19 patients along with their other patients.
I think the bigger challenge is not only just the tools, it's the emotional stressor that it's had on people. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of healthcare out there that is basically going to have PTSD from living through this and the toll that they've taken on.
Mercy says they've brought in nurses from outside of Joplin to give their staff time to rest. Joplin area hospitals report little change in their numbers of COVID patients as they battle the continuing surge amid the spread of the Delta variant. Joplin's Mercy Hospital says it currently has 69 COVID patients. That's down from 74 a week ago, but the hospital says the percentage on ventilators is now higher. And Freeman Hospitals in Joplin and Neosho now report a total of 60 COVID patients. That's 3 more than on Friday. 11 of those patients are on ventilators. Protesters demand freedom of choice in Rogers, Arkansas. The protests were in response to Mercy Hospital's vaccination requirement for its employees. They held signs that said, "My body, my choice, and if there is risk, there must be choice," saying that, they're trying to put pressure on the hospital to reverse course. Others say they've already left the hospital entirely.
This and said, you don't care about the employees. We all have beliefs, and it's not right for an employer to force their beliefs on the employee.
Mercy officials said the decision to require inoculations for employees was one made out of a concern for the safety of not just staff, but patients as well. The deadline for hospital employees to receive their vaccines is September 30th. The Oklahoma Republican Party is facing fierce criticism for a Facebook post likening vaccine mandates to the persecution of Jewish people in Nazi Germany. The post on the party's official Facebook page urged people to call the lieutenant governor and ask him to call a special session to prohibit employers from employing vaccine mandates on their employees. It featured a picture of a yellow Star of David with the word unvaccinated on it. The director of the Jewish Federation of Greater Oklahoma City called the post, quote, highly inappropriate and urged party officials to apologize. In a joint statement, Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt, Lieutenant Governor Matt Pinnell, Senator Jim Inhofe, Senator James Lankford, and Congressman Markwayne Mullen said, "It is irresponsible and wrong to compare an effective vaccine developed by President Trump's Operation Warp Speed to the horrors of the Holocaust. People should have the liberty to choose if they take the vaccine, but we should never compare the unvaccinated to the victims of the Holocaust." The Joplin City Council last night approved on first reading an agreement with Bird Scooters. It now goes to a second reading, and if given final approval, Bird would bring 150 scooters to Joplin and pay the city $2,500 plus 15 cents per ride. The video you're looking at right now is of use in Lansing, Michigan. To rent a scooter, you download the Bird app, pay for the ride, and that unlocks the scooter. City Council plans to discuss parking concerns at the next council meeting. Don't forget, for many of you, today is Election Day. It's your chance to, in many cases, decide how your city or county spends your tax dollars. Voters in Jasper County, Purcell, Carthage, Joplin, Oronogo, and Avila, Missouri, as well as Cherokee County, Kansas, will have items on their ballots. There are no offices to fill. The elections are over issues, mostly tax issues. Polling places open in Missouri at 6 a.m. and stay open until 7 p.m. In Kansas, polls are open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. We'll have the latest numbers on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com. That's a look at our top news stories. Coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News, evictions end.
Millions of Americans could lose their homes now that the federal eviction ban has ended. I'm Bradley Blackburn with how the White House is responding as evictions begin.
Plus, for our Something to Talk About, we're asking, should farmers be required to provide more space for livestock? We let you weigh in. But first, it's 6:37.
Good looking Tuesday, even with the hazy skies. Still going to be very comfortable outside. High around 84 with a little northeasterly breeze of just 5 to 10 miles per hour. We'll be back with Nation Watch next.
Topping Nation Watch this morning, millions of Americans could now lose their homes after the federal moratorium on evictions expires. Bradley Blackburn reports on the White House's response as eviction cases get underway.
Landscaping? Louis Vertens was in a Rhode Island courtroom just one day after the federal moratorium on evictions ended.
I have no idea where I'm going to go or what I'm going to do.
The 43-year-old landscaper fell behind on rent after he got sick and was in the hospital, and he is now out of time.
They evicted me and gave me exactly 3 weeks to get out. And unfortunately, I have no place to go and nowhere else to go.
Vertens is one of more than 3.6 million Americans who may be evicted in the next 2 months. The moratorium was put in place by the CDC last year, a public health measure to slow the spread of COVID-19 by keeping people out of homeless shelters. The agency extended it several times, but the White House claims they don't have the legal authority to do it again after a Supreme Court ruling.
The president's not only kicked the tires, he has double, triple, quadruple checked.
The White House is asking local governments to adopt their own moratoriums and to speed up the distribution of $47 billion in housing aid. Landlords say they've accumulated huge losses due to the eviction freeze.
For them, tens of thousands of dollars of back owed rent is not uncommon.
Those behind on rent owe an average of $3,700, and an eviction could hurt their ability to find another home. Shelters are preparing for a surge in homelessness.
We're going to see an increase in people coming in for services.
I feel lost. I feel helpless.
Soon lost without a home. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News.
Some lawmakers are demanding that Congress act and pass a new eviction moratorium. Mask and vaccination mandates are going into effect in several municipalities as the nation works to tamp down the latest wave of coronavirus that's being driven by the fierce Delta variant. Indoor mandates take effect today in California Bay Area communities and on Wednesday in the state of Louisiana. Las Vegas is building a permanent memorial to honor the 58 people who died and more than 850 injured when a gunman opened fire into a crowded country music festival in 2017. MGM Resorts International is donating part of the property where the nation's deadliest mass shooting took place. The public is invited to submit its ideas for the design. San Francisco's historic cable cars are rolling again. Mayor London Breed says rides are free all this month as the cars operate on an irregular schedule. The iconic trolleys were packed for 16 months because of the pandemic. Toxic masculinity? Well, maybe time to let it go. According to new research, Disney movies aren't just good at entertaining kids, they're also helping develop more progressive attitudes towards all genders. BYU professor Sarah Coyne surveyed more than 300 children and their parents in their preschool years, then again 5 years later. She found children who engage in princess culture will, quote, subscribe less to attitudes of toxic masculinity. The study also found girls who had more engagement were more likely to view education, relationships, and careers as being equally important for women and men. That's a look at today's top national stories. Now let's check back in with Michael for our Something to Talk About.
Thank you, Zach. On the KOAM News Now Facebook page and our morning Instapoll, meat prices have been higher during the pandemic, and now California consumers are facing higher prices for pork because of a measure that millions voted for. Go back to 2018. That's when California voters approved an animal welfare proposition. It requires more space for breeding pigs and for chickens that lay eggs. Now, this new standard enforced starting in 2022, and egg producers are working to comply, but doesn't look like most pork farms are going to reach the standard, meaning a shortage in California is going to lead to higher prices at stores and restaurants. Our question for you this morning is, should farms be required to provide more space for livestock? This has been very consistent the entire morning long. Right now, 84% of you say no go on my watch. Only 16% saying yes. You can make your voice heard going to KOAMNewsNow.com/vote or connect to us through the KOAM News Now Facebook page. We will come back and celebrate birthdays and anniversaries right after this.
We take this time to honor today's four-state hero, Wallace Sparks, who served in the United States Air Force from 1952 to 1954 in Korea. His hometown, Carthage, Missouri. We're proud to salute Wallace Sparks, a four-state hero.
Our birthday list begins with Adley Dixon, who's celebrating her third birthday. What a great smile right there. Adley, have a great birthday. She's in Parsons.
And a very happy birthday as well to Savannah Cole, turning 4 years old in Joplin.
Riker
Happy
Stish.
birthday, Savannah.
A 7th birthday. Good catch right there, kid.
Nice. Looks like he caught it with his bare hands.
Now we're rolling. Oh, I won't fish with Riker. Let's do
Yeah.
that. Yeah, he's turning a big 7 in Chanute.
And a very happy birthday to Oakley Slaughter, turning 10 years old. Happy birthday, Oakley.
Larry Collinsworth, he's celebrating his 69th birthday. Larry, have a great day in Baxter Springs.
And a very happy birthday to Jerry Ann Gooding, turning 70 in Joplin. Happy birthday.
And in Altoona, an anniversary wish goes out to Brian and Deanna Joy. Throwback to 36 years ago, the wedding photo, and 36 years later, congratulations, Brian and Deanna.
And a very happy birthday to Ashley Blyle, turning 23 in Miami. And also to Bonnie West, turning 68 in Chanute.
A very happy birthday and happy anniversary to all on this August the 3rd. Here's where you can submit them to birthdays@KOAMTV.com. You can also find us on the website at KOAMNewsNow.com. Now, here's Zach Dodge with a very important birthday announcement.
You can be part of the KOAM Birthday Club by going to our website and signing up. You can get special deals from local businesses as well, so it's a great deal. So get to KOAMNewsNow.com and sign up for the KOAM Birthday Club today.
Glow cloud emerging outside 7th and Range Line and right through the trees, in the words of the great Jeff Brantley, right down Broadway, if you will. And 7th and Range Line, still waiting on it to creep above the tree line right there. But more importantly, look at the haze right along the tree line. Hey, yeah, and that thing's going to linger there all day long. It is very comfortable outside, though. 61 degrees is where we stand in Joplin. Excuse me, even with the high humidity, not noticeable outside because it is so mild. 66 in Cassville, as low as 59 dipping down in Iola. Pittsburgh's at 63, Miami at 64. Clean Skywatch Storm Tracker, you see a pop of green every now and then, right? A little sprinkle is all that amounts to. So certainly nothing to worry about. They did pick up some rain here in central Missouri over the morning. Do want to point out too, up in Kansas City, they have an air quality warning. And our air, because of that haze, is not the best. See that gray surrounding KC? That's the air quality warning. But then on the air quality index map, that circle there in the white that I've signified, that's where it currently stands. It's considered poor air quality. Now, the general public really not going to be affected by it, but For those of you, or if you have kids or relatives that have COPD or asthma, be careful when you have long periods of time outside. Try not to do anything strenuous outside as well. And we're going to have to just let this haze kind of wander over the Midwest for the next couple of days, and eventually it'll make its way toward the Mississippi. Not a whole lot of action in the contiguous 48 minus the Gulf and Mid-Atlantic. Gulf has been pretty active all week long. We'll continue to do so, but it's not even in the severe thunderstorm risk category as far as even the low level. Our afternoon planner has sunshine with the haze and all the way up into the mid-80s. Overnight, little shift in the wind. It'll go from north to northeast, but just 5 to 10 miles per hour. All right, afternoon, about that 2 to 4 p.m. period. Could see a little pop-up rain, especially in southwest Missouri, more so. Going to be dry the farther west and north that you get. And then as we cruise into the middle of the week, temperatures still below normal for Wednesday and Thursday. Friday is about normal for this time of August. And then the heat is back on us for Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. We'll be back, wrap up this edition of the KOAM Morning News right after this.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. Mask and vaccination mandates are going into effect in several municipalities as the nation works to tamp down this latest wave of coronavirus that's being driven by the fierce Delta variant. Indoor mandates take effect today in California Bay Area communities and on Wednesday in the state of Louisiana. After battling the pandemic for well over a year, some healthcare workers continue to feel burnt out from long hours and adapting to new medical situations. As cases rise in the area, some healthcare workers in Mercy Joplin say they haven't been able to get much rest or recovery due to stresses of taking care of COVID-19 patients along with their other patients. Mercy also says they've brought in nurses from outside of Joplin to give their staff time to rest. The Joplin City Council last night approved on first reading an agreement with Bird Scooters. It now goes to a second reading. If approved, Bird would bring 150 scooters to Joplin and pay the city $2,500 plus 15 cents per ride. This is video of the scooters in use in Lansing, Michigan. To rent a scooter, you download the Bird app and pay for your ride, which unlocks the scooter. City Council plans to discuss parking concerns at the next council meeting. Las Vegas is building a permanent memorial to honor the 58 people who died and more than 850 injured when a gunman opened fire into a crowded country music festival in 2017. MGM Resorts International is donating part of the property where the nation's deadliest mass shooting took place. The public is invited to submit its ideas for the design. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
Mid-60s right now, ending up in the mid-80s later on with hazy skies. North breeze shift a little bit overnight. The haze will linger as well from Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. Shot for rain in between, say, 4 p.m., mainly through southwest Missouri, and it won't last but 5 to 10 minutes. Mild temperatures for the next 3 days before the temperatures begin to heat up from Friday and carry us all through the weekend.
It's going to be a pretty nice couple of days then.
Oh, it's going to be great, yeah.
I'm ready for.
Once again,
ready for some nice weather.
Especially for those of you that have it or have family members, asthma,
Right.
COPD.
Definitely.
And I'm not saying you batten down the hatches and close the windows and everything. What I am saying is try limit
Yeah.
yourself outside, and if you feel it, know that that's what it's from. That probably from that. Let's put it this way: it's not helping any. And take some time off, get back inside, and get some fresh air.
Right, just take it easy in those afternoon hours,
Right.
like you're saying.
What you wanna-
main peak heat
what you wanna do at
days,
noon?
hours of the day. Yeah.
You want to do air quality?
Sure.
All right. We'll bust out that air quality map again. All right, your morning news continues on KOAM. We've got the CBS Morning News. That is coming up next.
Or you can switch on over with us to Fox 14, where your only local morning news continues.
We'll have a good time over there. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Zach and I, it's not pre-planned. Oh,
No,
wait.
not at all.
We have an incomparable producer by the name of Caden Milner.
Mhm.
Evidently, he wants us to do these stories.
Yes.
Fine, Caden. I see how it is. you won't let Zach and I run off the rails.
It's
That does it for this Tuesday edition. Enjoy these mild August temperatures. Do me a favor, be safe, and we'll do this all again tomorrow morning.